Welcome to another edition of Pitmaster, an old Virginia Smoke podcast. My name is Luke Darnell, the host of this podcast, and today we have with us Brad Cox from Local Yokels, who recently won the KCBS World Invitational Open Contest. How you doing, Brad?
I'm doing great this morning. How are you, Luke?
I'm good. I'm good. I think we've both been through a little bit of a whirlwind in terms of barbecue slash family stuff here in the past couple of weeks. But first of all, congratulations on your huge win down in Lebanon, Tennessee.
Thank you. It was really surreal for me and my family, and it's one of the moments you'll never forget. You know, the people hugging you, and I don't know. Unless you've experienced it, it's there's nothing like it.
I think one of the coolest things that happened at the KCBS World Invitational, which we'll talk about in a little bit because I thought they did a great job, um, was watching how you know this is I'm gonna want to say this wrong, but just how genuinely happy everybody that was there was that you guys won. Um, that is such a joy to see in barbecue with as much, you know, sometimes I feel like barbecue mimics life and there's just a lot of things, that people want to, run down for whatever reason. But you winning was not one of them and was just it was fantastic and joyous for everybody there involved.
Well, I was worried that the ride grain and we're going to get upset with me because we're like 5 minutes trying to get to the stage. But yeah, it was fine. Yeah, it was really neat.
That's a great feeling, isn't it, when it takes you forever to get up there? Just 'cause
It is, and it made me feel like one of the things we've always tried to do is we try to help people as much as we can. I try to teach my girls to be good to people, and it was like I think people were genuinely happy to see us. We've had the moniker for years, like, "Hey, they're the nicest team in barbecue." But now it's like we're the nicest. Well, maybe still the nicest team, but we can actually cook a little bit too.
and that's funny you bring that up because, you asked me a question before we started recording that I, uh, I didn't know the answer to, and ever since I had asked you to be on this podcast, one of the first things I usually talk about is the first time that I had met you, and I had spent I think we talked about this for about a week, and I've
Hmm.
spent that week racking my brain going, "I know him, and I'm not sure where," and you reminded me, that a few years ago at the American Royal, we, awards were over and traffic was all backed up, but we needed a picture, and you guys were driving out stuck in traffic, and I asked you to get out of your truck and take a picture for us.
Yeah, you were sky high that day, and it's what barbecue does for you. That's why we do what we do.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad that you brought that and remembered that because it had been killing me, and I should have been asking you that ahead of time.
Well, that's
So,
good though. That was a neat little antidote to this whole thing.
absolutely. So I thought um, that was my first time ever cooking the KCBS World Invitational, and
Yeah.
I thought that the location was fantastic, that the volunteers were fantastic, and the staff was fantastic. Uh, did you get that same feeling from that event?
Absolutely. I had a feeling we usually go there for the smoke on the shores, and
Okay.
Eric and I mean they do a tremendous job. So I knew they were up to the task, and I thought the KCBS reps. I mean, there was never any time where I didn't have any kind of question that I had was answered immediately. The facilities were great. We had from bathrooms to shower houses to power to flat areas, meeting places, awards. I mean, areas. It was actually the awards kind of reminded me of like at the Jack. I mean, it was a great venue for awards. I mean, yeah, I thought it was amazing.
Yeah, there was I know that there were some comments made that, "Oh, it's so far away from this and that and everything," and I'm like, for me, coming from Virginia, that was a good 9-hour drive, but it wasn't an 18-hour drive. So,
Yeah,
I
for
thought it was
me,
pretty
it's about
centrally
4 hours.
located for everybody. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
4
about four
hours?
hours. Like when we went to Oklahoma, and Oklahoma was a great venue too. That was a great
Mm,
place. We enjoyed it. that's like a 10 or 11 hour drive for us. So for us, this is the closest one they've had. So I'm thrilled to see them coming back there again.
Yes, me too. And I've already made my commitment to go back next year.
Yeah.
I really did enjoy everything that happened. So I also have come to find out that you are not a podcast listener, and so this is exciting for me because you don't know what's coming. 'Cause
No, I have no idea. Yeah. One of my best friends is Jordan Kirkpatrick. Um,
yes,
I would say that Jordan and Abby Ransom are two that I talk to weekly, sometimes daily. And I know Jordan does podcasts all the time. And I will say, like, I think when he's first one, I kind of listened just to hear him. But then he'll be like, I'm gonna be in a podcast. And I just don't have time for it. Normally, like I said, it's not that I don't love to if I had the time, but with a 5-year-old and a 10-year-old and a farm and a hardware store, it's just I don't normally have time for this.
absolutely. I'm a big Jordan fan too. I give him a hard time and trying to make him as uncomfortable as I can sometimes, but he's a good dude.
He's like the son I never wanted. That's what I've always told him because I was like, when he first started, he bought a toy hauler from me in my deep south, and that's where
Uh-huh.
we met because he only lives about an hour from me. And
Okay.
from that time on, we became best friends. And it's like, he actually was at one contest in what was that, Effingham, and he forgot his knives. So we're doing turn-ins, and I'm trying to finish up with my knife so I can take it over to him and Allie so they can use my knife. And that's what I nicknamed him. I was like, man, you're like the son I never wanted. You're, I love him. I love him to death.
I wish I could tell you that I've never forgot my knives for a contest, but that wouldn't be true. That has happened to me before as well.
It happens to everybody, I think.
Speaking of knives, we'll start there. Let's start um, on gear. What is one of the best investments that you've made in competition barbecue?
For us, it's probably we use the ThermalWorks Signal, or we'll use the Fireboard.
Hmm.
I'm a big believer in those, especially when you're cooking your big meats, because you can watch that graft on your brisket. For us, I'm trying to watch. I'm not dead set on a certain finish temperature, but I can kind of tell when that line starts to flatten out. I know that I'm getting close, and then I know that it's time to check it without having to open it and shut it because every time you do that, you're losing momentum. So
Yeah,
I've been able to use that. That's probably the best tool I have.
so you're into the technology part of this whole game.
I am. I mean, and I use my dots. Yeah. I mean, and I'm not set on temperature. For me, it's just it lets me know when I need to start checking. And usually, once I start checking, then the probe comes out. Because once I've checked it one time, I'll usually know, okay, another 15, 20 minutes or another 10 minutes. And then I just go ahead and remove them. But I think they're a great tool for just letting a person know when you need to start checking that protein.
Do you have any little tools or gadgets that are $100 or less that are really helpful?
Not quite so pricey, huh? Trying to think. Trying to think of little tools my wife uses because a lot of people don't know this. My wife does all of our trimming, and
Wow.
she makes all of our boxes look pretty. So, I mean, for one thing we kind of use, and it sounds silly, is a turkey baster, just a cheap turkey baster.
Mhm.
Um, um, when we, if you after you get your chicken out of the butter bath, we usually like to soak up some of those, pull up some of the fluids, and put them over the chicken before we cover it in the foil. I don't know. I think
Oh,
it just moistens the top of the skin, and maybe you get a little bit of that flavor also. But that's something that's I mean, you can buy at any Walmart you want. The tweezers, the Q-tips, little things like that she uses all the time. I'm the guy that's on the drum with the technology, and then she's in
right.
there really behind the scenes making it all work.
Wow, so we have a similar team setup.
Okay, yeah, yeah. We actually did our first couple of classes this year, and we during the class, people would ask, well, what do you do here? How do you trim that? And like, well, we do this. And by the end of the class, everybody nicknamed her we. So by we, you mean her. And I'm like, yeah, we is her. So there's still a lot of teams out there that call her we now. They're like, how you doing, we?
That's way more endearing than what my wife is called, the little general. because that's what she is.
The little general. Well, now I will say when we go to Cordy Meats to get meat, Jay LaBello and I have nicknamed her the Butt Whisperer. So that's probably not something she's proud of, but she has a way of being able to pick them out where it won't look like it has very much of a money muscle, and my wife can look at it and go, "That's good." I'm thinking, "That's terrible," and then I'll pick one that looks great, and we get back and it's all false, and so we nicknamed her the Butt Whisperer. I don't even try anymore.
The butt whisperer. That's amazing. That might be the title of this podcast. Who knows?
That could be it. She'll love that. No,
That could be it. Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about people. Who has impacted your life the most in competition barbecue?
um, you're one of those guys, honestly, Luke. Um,
Really?
Years ago when we first started, of course, the original barbecue pitmasters, but then the barbecue league started, and it was like you and Lucky's and Tim and Brad and Darren Worth and all those guys, and we would watch that, and it was like, man, I want to be, I'd like to be in that league, so to speak. And you pick up little tricks by watching the little snippets of videos. I mean, and there's some of those tricks we're still using, and that's what kind of inspired us to try to get better and better. And then, as like I said, a guy named I don't know if you know Albie Ransom.
Hmm.
He won back to back brisket 180s both days there at Lebanon,
Hmm.
and he was far more advanced than we were when we first started. And Albie would help me a lot, and then Jordan, as I've said, I was actually started before Jordan a little bit, but those weekly conversations. We've all three of us have made each other better through the years because exchanging information and yeah, as we've gotten more advanced, we might all be a little bit more closer to the vest than we used to be. When you first started, we would like share everything, and then now it's kind of like, I'll share most of it, 'cause I don't want you guys kicking my butt. But yeah, things like that, just other peers that have. But yeah, you got that barbecue league. Wow, when you guys first
It's
started, that was amazing.
it really changed competition barbecue in a lot of ways in that it provided a low price point for people who were just getting started to get, and even not just people getting started, but people who had done it for a long time. Um, I would probably blush at the number of times that I've watched Brad's pork video.
Yeah,
Um, you know, and I just think, I started doing this in 2012, and back then none of these resources existed. Not the barbecue league, not barbecue champs academy, and I think that it's made for a better experience for teams that are just starting out, or for people that really want to learn and hone their craft.
yeah, and the learning curve. I mean, we first started. We did before we did our very first competition. We'd done some backyard, but we actually were able to go do Warren County Pork Choppers class, and then I had
Ooh,
Mike Davis came to my house and actually did a class with a lot of bull.
okay.
So we got a reserve grade on our first comp, but everybody was like, I was like, yeah, but we had a big leg up on the learning curve. We had two classes before we ever had our first comp. But with those things, with those resources available now, I think teams are able to jump in there in their first year or two, see success a lot quicker than what they probably could have back in the early days.
Right. And that's, yeah. Mike Davis's name always comes up in this class, as does Donnie Bray's.
Yeah,
Uh,
those
they've
guys are
both been on this podcast, and they were both just tremendous episodes.
yeah, yeah. Mike and Debbie and them. I mean, and Donnie actually gave us our class for free because he had a special thing that year about kind of tell what barbecue means to you, and he was going to have a giveaway. And I thought it was going to be like maybe some spices or rubs or something. So I wrote this thing, kind of talking about barbecue. And he calls me up and he's like, yeah, you're getting a class, and he even paid for our hotel. So I can't
Wow.
repay that kindness. And then, like I said, Mike and Debbie actually came to our house and we did a class here. And I mean, both those guys have, I guess I should have mentioned them first, probably because they really helped us. I mean, there's things that just blew my mind that they were doing that we had no clue about. And they both, if I could reach out to them today, and they would both tell me anything, and they still have a lot of knowledge that I'll never know.
And that's, yeah, I tell people all the time, when you're getting started, there's no class that's more important than your first class.
Yeah,
You're going to take so much away from that, and so many tips and so many little tricks and so many little things. that you think initially don't make a difference, but then you watch it happen at a class, and you're like, "Whoa, okay, that's a difference maker."
Yeah, yeah, it really is. And so many things since then that people have come up with. I mean, now people are using caddies, and we use a caddy. I mean, there's different technology. It's always evolving. Seems like which is great. I mean, that's if you want a sport to grow, it needs to evolve, and the way to evolve is to come up with different ways of different cooking methods that make it either easier or better.
Mhm. I've never used a caddy.
Never have.
Nope.
My biggest reason I like it is because there's a point in my process, which we won't get into that too much, but where I go really, really hot, like
Mhm.
500 degrees hot. And if not, that brisket will just kind of swell out, and then I lose my length. So I have
Right.
less room to get my slices. So by keeping that caddy, at least through that portion of my cook, it allows it to just kind of go up, but I keep my same length. And then once that portion's over, then I normally take it out of the caddy.
Huh. One of these days, I'm gonna give this a shot when I'm here at the house and see how it goes. I have one. Um, I've never used it.
Yeah. I tried them when they first came out. I tried them, and then I didn't like the feel of it. I was like, I just don't like the feel because I was
Right.
trying to keep it in a caddy the entire time. And then a couple of years later, I kind of revisited it, and I was like, wait, what if I just used it for this portion? And that's what I started doing. Then it kind of helped hold its shape and kept its length. And then
Hmm.
I started, okay, now it's part of my process. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any habits, rituals, or superstitions or routines that you have to do when you're at a contest?
We do. Have you not? You see, you haven't been. Well, look, we're going to have to get you in on that next time.
Okay.
You notice my wife is from the Philippines,
Yes.
right? Okay, you've heard of lumpia?
Yes.
Okay, you'll see on the back of our trailer, it's written on there. Lucky lumpia is the voodoo that we do. Usually,
Okay.
when she starts cooking lumpia, there'll be a steady stream of people coming to our trailer to pick up their lumpia. It's our lucky lumpia, and we'll normally do like a toast with the lumpia or whatever. That's it. It started out early instead of like a lot of people go to Mexican or something like that. Ours is the lucky lumpia. Yeah, that's our superstition, I guess. And I think people it's not so much a superstition. Everybody just loves her lumpia. She's a phenomenal cook, and everybody comes over and gets lumpia.
That's fantastic. I'm starting to wonder if I should have had her on instead of you.
I think maybe you should have. Right? That's what most people. Once people meet us, they normally say, "Yeah, okay, they're the real." I'm just the eye candy, Luke. I'm just the eye
I say that all the time too, Brad.
candy.
I just light a fire. That's all I do.
That's it. I just cook the meat. She does all the behind. I come up with all the recipes, seasonings, injections. I'm the flavor guy and the cook guy. But then, yeah, everything else is all her. I mean, yeah, I'd be lost without her. I'd hate to. I think if me and you probably both did a contest together, we'd be in trouble.
Oh, yeah, I'd be lost. I've done it. I've done it recently, and the weekend before the World Championships, I cooked not necessarily by myself. I had Walt from Rocky Top there with me to run my boxes, and but I mean, I had to do all the boxing and the cleaning and all that stuff, and I think it's good for me to do every once in a while, just sort of as a reminder as how important Kim is when she's in there,
Yeah, yeah.
and the details that she pays attention to that my dumbass does not. So
That's exactly right. Yep. She. I couldn't do it without her, and I'm like when we did those classes, like I said, I was so proud of her because being from another country, and yet she was able to stand up in front of everybody and answer questions, and I was like, that's amazing to me, really. She's
that's great.
I'm married up. I'll say that I'm married up.
We all did, but we all did.
That's right.
Do you have any other superstitions or anything that you do?
Um, I don't know. I normally wear like once we've it sounds there's a lot of silly things. Right now it's a 3/4 inch socket in my pocket.
Really?
Um, yeah, we were at Louisville earlier this year. We got a GC. Well, Albie Ransom had borrowed my socket to bring his jack up, his leveling jack up. Well, on the way to awards, he hands it to me, and I put it in my pocket. I'm like, if we GC this, I'm probably gonna have to carry this socket in with me for the next. So we GC'd it. So the first day of Lebanon, that socket was in my pocket. I was like, hey,
Wow.
Yeah. So, but unfortunately, it was in my pocket the second day too, and it didn't work. So we'll probably just put it back in the tool set now.
It probably has a limit as to how much
Yeah,
luck it's going to
there's
give
probably
you.
an expiration date on that. Yeah, anything like that. Sometimes there'll be a pair of shoes, or I think everybody does that, don't we? You know,
It's surprising to me how many people say that they don't.
really.
Um, yeah, I mean, I have 10 million things. I could spend an hour just on this question with myself in terms of things that have to happen. And if they don't happen, like, I'll legitimately get angry. And it's,
Yeah,
it's stupid, but I'm a firm believer that if you think that it helps, then it helps because it
yeah.
changes your mind and gets your brain in the right place. So,
Well, one of mine too is my girls, and like they told me that on the second day. I normally every time right before when they start awards, I'll turn to my girls. And I'm like, "Who's the best cook in the whole world?" And they're like, "Daddy," and I'm like, "Well, then I've already won." You know, it doesn't matter what they say,
wow.
I've already won. But I forgot to do it on day two, and afterwards, my 5-year-old reminded me. She goes, "Daddy, you didn't ask us who was the best cook in the whole world." And I'm like, "Golly, I blew it."
See, you're just a ray of sunshine. Like one of the things that I say every time is we have a rule in the trailer that the box never goes downstairs. Somebody goes down the stairs, you hand the box to them.
Yes, we do that.
And every time I hand Kim the box, I look at her and I say, make good choices. Like, don't do something crazy or anything. She's like, but yours is like full of love and joy, and mine is full of angst and worry.
Well, that's, and I think we have. I mean, we're not. I'm not nearly as nice as some people like to think. Like Wes Garrett was beside us, and he was like, "Yeah, you're the guy that'll beat you, and you'll be praying for us the whole time." And I wish I was that much of a saint. I think some people think that I am, but we're not all the time. That's for sure.
Wes Garrett has not been on this podcast, but he will be a guest very soon.
That would be a great guest, I would imagine. He was my neighbor.
He, well, this was the past 2 weeks in Tennessee was the first time that he and I really spent any time together. So uh, we had a good time.
Yeah, you guys were next door to me when you guys had a little bit of a wild night Wednesday night.
Maybe,
Yeah, maybe. I can remember Jordan
maybe.
coming to my trailer, and Jordan, and he must have had a few that night also because he comes to my trailer and just opens up the door and he's like, "Brad, okay, I got money on you, bud. I got money on you." He said, "I already called it. I already called it. You're 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven. You're going to win this thing." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" So I think he willed that whole thing into happen. He kept telling everybody all weekend that I was going to win.
Hey, game knows game, buddy. Game knows game.
I guess that's it. It was yeah. He's funny and Jordan doesn't drink very much anymore. But when he does, usually it's like the what is it Thursday, Wednesday or Thursday night at the Royal, and that's normally about the only time of the year he does. But I think he made an exception that night with you guys.
We had a good time.
Yeah,
Let's just leave it at that.
there's no video evidence, right? Look,
No, not at all. There's too much video evidence. What do you listen to music when you cook?
you see, now you're gonna think I'm a saint again. Yes, I do. We usually listen to Christian rock.
Wow.
Well,
Okay.
actually, when we usually if you have a walk up song and it's local yokels, it's usually a song called "Raise a Hallelujah." Um, and that's I don't know. That's we are Christians. That's I don't know if you know. And I'm not trying to do a shameless plug here, but we actually have a new seasoning coming out that we used at Louisville and at Lebanon, and we called it Sweet Salvation. And everybody's like, because Jordan was trying to get me to do some other types of names that would have been probably more marketable. He's much more marketable than what I am. But I was like, that's kind of our thing. You know what I mean? It's I think we're going to call it Sweet Salvation. But yeah, we'll usually listen to. We've got a certain playlist that we usually play in the morning of different Christian rock songs that we like, and we just kind of play them on the radio and or on our phone on Bluetooth in the morning, and it kind of gets me and my wife our mind in the right place. We listen to Christian rock so we can get in the mood to go out and crush people.
Oh my gosh, that's good. So before we get into the rapid fire questions, I just
Uh-huh.
want to ask, what's been the most surprising thing to come out of competition barbecue for you?
The family. I mean, we got in it just really wanting to compete and see how we could do. And now it's like, I mean, the friendships that we've made with, like I said, with Jordan Albee. I've got Mark Bowman and Ken Sheets that on the way home from Kentucky, we had troubles. And I just called them and they were on their way. You know, we had to strap up my gray tape from underneath but they didn't even hesitate. You know, I mean, it's the family. When we get there, my girls, we had we had Reagan, we had Hayes, we had Brent, we had all of the kids who were over there hanging at our place because we have that separate space. But my girls love it as much as I do. I mean, when we go, they're like, "Oh, is Hayes coming, or is Reagan coming?" Or I don't know. It's just it's. I think until someone experiences it, the family in barbecue is just overwhelming. If we ever quit, I don't know how I'll quit that part of it.
That's the part. It's funny because I have this conversation all the time, and we've done this now for 12 years, and I don't believe that family will ever leave. Even if we leave barbecue, we've made friends in barbecue that'll be our friends for the rest of our lives. We vacation with these people. It used to be in the beginning we had our friends and then we had our barbecue friends, right?
Yeah,
And there is no more line. You
yeah,
know, there's no line, and I think you're in agreement with me there. There's no line. Friends
yeah,
are friends, and barbecue friends are some of the best friends that we have, and we'll always
yeah, absolutely. And that's something we didn't expect getting into it, but it's been a blessing for our family.
have. Absolutely. Well, Brad, it has been fantastic talking to you, and I can't wait till we see each other again, so we can sit down and hang out a little bit. And
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever formally met your wife, but I would love to do that. And
we'll get you some lumpia.
I don't know that I want to introduce her to Kim because I think the two of them might conspire to rule the world together. But
I think you might be right.
so, all right, the rapid fire questions. You're gonna
Okay.
love these. I
Oh
love that you've never heard these.
no, it's
This is
scary.
exciting. All right, what what do you see about barbecue on social media that upsets or bothers you?
Um, One thing is that all they show, like on these shows, is like the 922 shot, which I go to the 922 shot. Don't get me wrong, but why don't they show Cook's Church? You know, I don't know. That's something. It's like I'd like to see that part of barbecue. You know, there's both sides of that. And like I said, I love going to the 922 shot. I always have apple juice, but I love going to it. But why can't we show Cook's Church? You know, I don't know. Maybe I am as saintly as they say. I don't
Maybe you are.
know. I don't think so.
what is uh, what is one of your favorite pre, during, or post competition meals?
Olympia. And
Lumpia.
then also we do still like to go to Mexican. We're still kind of normally if we go somewhere it's Mexican, but then we always have lumpia. That's everyone that knows us knows we have lumpia, and my wife makes amazing cinnamon rolls.
Ooh, okay. Now you're speaking Kim's language too. Uh,
Yes,
that that's fantastic. Do you have a favorite present that you like to give to people?
a favorite present that I like to give to people. My knowledge, I guess. Luke, no, it's just I guess BS. I don't really know. I don't really have anything. I'm trying to BS you, but
You know what? That's not an unfair answer.
yeah,
Um, you know, because we all walk through contests, we all say good luck to people. We've all seen new teams come out and struggle, and if you stop and you give them 5 minutes of your time, and it makes them have a better cook or they get a better score, I think that is a tremendous gift in barbecue.
it makes your day. When we did that class, and I've seen some people that were students in our class doing well this year, really well in certain categories, and it's like it almost makes me happier than when I get a call. I mean, it's
Oh,
yeah, yeah,
absolutely,
yeah. I love helping people.
absolutely.
Yeah,
I love it when people tell me that I taught them something and it had them. That's why I do all this stuff. That's
yeah,
why I do this
absolutely.
podcast.
Yeah,
If I there hasn't been one podcast where I haven't learned something.
yeah,
Even today, I learned something. I got to buy a turkey baster.
yeah.
So there we
Uh,
go. All right, last question. If we could have a giant billboard anywhere with anything on it that's getting a message out to millions of billions of people, what could it be? What would it say and why?
Oh gosh. See, you're trying to turn me into a saint again. Gee. I mean, it sounds. I'm being saintly here again. To me, it's like there's one song we like. It's like only Jesus. I don't care if you remember anything I've done barbecue wise. Remember that I was a good guy. Remember that I was a good Christian and a good father. So and that's all because of the God I serve.
Wonderful. Where can people find you online, Brad?
We are Local Yokels, Facebook.com, and that's about it. I'm not a big social media. I've got to get
I
better at that. My
saw
10-year-old tells me I've got to get better at that.
I saw your post the other day where you said I need to start posting more things to this local yokels page because I'm not using it very
Yeah,
well.
she's like, we got a new seasoning coming out, Dad. You got to get better at this social media thing. And I'm like, I think I'm just going to let her take it over for me.
Not the worst idea in the world.
No,
I've just started working with, I believe she's 17-year-old, uh, my 17-year-old niece, and she is way better at it than I am. So,
yeah.
uh, and she's telling me you need to do this and you need to do that. I'm like, oh my God, okay. Like, when did you become a doctor?
I know. They grow up too fast, don't they?
Oh my gosh, it's incredible. It's incredible. Well, listen, buddy, thank you so much for being on here today. Um, Again, you guys can find Brad or Local Yokels on Facebook. And I know that I, for one, will be rooting for him. You
Thank you.
know,
It was
you
an
truly
absolute
are one
pleasure
of the.
being on here.
Oh, and it's been a pleasure having you on here. And I really cannot wait until I get to see you again.
I can't either. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Yep.